Did you know that Adolf Hitler came incredibly close to being assassinated by his own army? It's one of history's most dramatic ways. If this daring plan had succeeded, World War II could have ended years earlier, potentially saving millions of lives. This is the story of Operation Valkyrie, the secret plot to kill the Führer. By the summer of 1944, the tide of the war was turning against Germany. The Allies had successfully landed in Normandy, and on the Eastern Front, the Soviet Red Army was relentlessly pushing westward. Inside Germany, a growing number of high-ranking military officers and political figures had become convinced that Hitler's leadership was leading the nation to total destruction. They believed that the only way to save their country from complete ruin was to remove him from power, by any means necessary. This group of conspirators, known as the German Resistance, wasn't a new movement. It had existed in various forms for years. But the escalating military disasters gave their cause a desperate new urgency. They needed a plan, not just to kill Hitler, but to seize control of the state in the chaotic aftermath. Their solution was a brilliantly audacious plan codenamed Operation Valkyrie. Ironically, Operation Valkyrie was an existing emergency plan, officially approved by Hitler himself. Its original purpose was to deploy the reserve army to maintain order within Germany in the event of a major disruption, like an Allied bombing campaign causing a civil uprising or a revolt by the millions of foreign laborers forced to work in German factories. The conspirators saw an opportunity. They would hijack Valkyrie for their own purposes. They rewrote the orders, transforming it from a plan to protect the Nazi regime into a blueprint for its complete overthrow. The revised plan stated that upon Hitler's death, the reserve army would be mobilized to arrest key Nazi officials, secure government buildings, and disarm Hitler's fanatical paramilitary force. The entire operation hinged on one critical event: the successful assassination of Adolf Hitler. The man chosen to carry out this perilous task was Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg. He was a charismatic and highly decorated officer who had been severely wounded in North Africa, losing his left eye, his right hand, and 2 fingers on his left hand. Despite his injuries, his resolve was unshakable. His position as Chief of Staff of the Reserve Army gave him a crucial advantage: direct access to Hitler during military briefings. This was the opening they needed. The plan was set for July 20th, 1944. Stauffenberg was scheduled to attend a conference with Hitler at his secret military headquarters in East Prussia, known as the Wolf's Lair. He carried with him a briefcase containing a bomb. It was a British-made plastic explosive, fitted with a silent, acid-based fuse. The device was simple, but deadly. That morning, everything seemed to be going against them. The meeting, usually held in a sturdy, windowless concrete bunker where the blast would have been devastatingly contained, was moved at the last minute to a larger, open-windowed, wooden barracks. This would significantly lessen the bomb's impact. To make matters worse, Stauffenberg was interrupted while trying to arm the 2 explosive charges he had brought. Flustered by a guard knocking on his door, he only managed to arm one of them, effectively having the bomb's power. Time was running out. Stauffenberg entered the conference room, where about 24 high-ranking officers were gathered around a massive oak map table. Hitler was at the center, under the pretext of needing to be near the main speaker. Stauffenberg positioned himself just a few feet away from his target. He placed the briefcase on the floor, under the table, as close to Hitler as he could manage. Then, feigning a prearranged phone call, he excused himself and quietly left the room. He hurried away, heart pounding, waiting for the explosion that would change the course of history. At precisely 12:42 p.m., a massive blast ripped through the barracks. The room was engulfed in smoke and flames. Stauffenberg, watching from a safe distance, saw bodies being thrown from the building and was convinced that no one could have survived. And boarded a plane back to Berlin to initiate the second phase of the plan. The coup d'etat itself, but back in the wrecked conference room, the impossible had happened. Hitler had survived in a fateful twist. Just moments before the detonation, an officer, wanting to get a better look at the map, had moved Stauffenberg's briefcase. He had inadvertently placed it on the other side of a thick, solid oak table leg. This seemingly insignificant act shielded Hitler from the main force of the blast. The heavy table absorbed most of the explosion's power. 4 people were killed, and many others were injured. But Hitler himself escaped with only ruptured eardrums, minor burns, and a shattered trouser leg as Stauffenberg's plane landed in Berlin. The conspirators had already begun to set Operation Valkyrie in motion, issuing orders to arrest Nazi officials. The confusion and hesitation took hold as conflicting reports about Hitler's fate began to trickle in. The coup started to unravel. The linchpin of their entire plan, the confirmed death of Hitler, was missing. By late afternoon, the regime began to regain control. Hitler, very much alive, spoke on the radio to the German people, vowing to crush the traitors. The news of his survival spelled the immediate end of the coup. The backlash was swift and brutal. That very night, Colonel Stauffenberg and 3 of his co-conspirators were captured and summarily executed by firing squad in the courtyard of the War Ministry in Berlin. In the weeks and months that followed, Hitler's Gestapo launched a terrifying wave of retribution. Anyone even remotely suspected of being involved in the plot was rounded up. The investigation, known as the 20th of July plot trials, led to the arrest of over 7,000 people. Of those, nearly 5,000 were executed. The purge was merciless, wiping out a significant portion of the German military's leadership and anyone deemed to. The failure of Operation Valkyrie had devastating consequences. The war, which might have ended in the summer of 1944, dragged on for another 10 bloody months. In that time, millions more soldiers and civilians perished. The Holocaust continued its horrific work, and cities across Europe were reduced to rubble. The story of Operation Valkyrie is a powerful reminder of how history can pivot on the smallest of details. A last-minute change of venue, a hurried preparation, a briefcase moved a few inches. Any one of these things, had they gone differently, could have altered the outcome of the 20th century. It's a tale of incredible bravery and tragic failure. A moment when a handful of individuals risked everything to stop a tyrant and came agonizingly close to succeeding. It makes you wonder, what would our world look like today if that thick table leg hadn't stood in the way? Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden corners of history. See you next time.